Welcome to Good Morning Joy, brought to you by our friends at Brave Healer Productions. I'm your host, Shari Elise, and I'm just going to cut to the chase because I've been taught that we never postpone joy. And my guest today is going to be bringing us a whole lot of it. Tim Shurr is joining us today, and he is celebrated as one of the most effective hypnotherapists alive. And he is going to help us say goodbye to the grip that anxiety and trauma and insecurity and those bad habits have on us. And then on the Joy Report, we are heading over to Canada, where I'm going to share with you one woman's story who has inspired so many women to be bolder in their lives and kinder to themselves. And then, of course, we are going to go meet some inspiring peeps on the street on Sharing with Shari. And if that's not enough, to top off this yummy feel-good Sunday with a cherry, stay tuned to the end for our series of soul hugs. It's going to be a jam-packed show of awesome, so make sure you grab your favorite cuppa, get comfy, and don't go anywhere. I recently met someone whose story so inspired me that I decided that she was going to be the good news story that you should know about on the Joy Report. Mishae Khan is the creator and designer behind Bold and Kind jewelry. And not just your typical jewelry pieces, but ones that inspire, uplift, and empower you. I am excited to share the amazing work that she is doing. Welcome, Mishae. I am so excited to have you on the Joy Report because it is all about good stories of good people doing great things. And Bold and Kind inspired me from the minute I met you and I read about it. And, you know, because you're not your average jewelry designer or jewelry line. You have a mission and a movement. And I would love for you to share your powerful story of how Bold and Kind started.
I'd love to. Thanks so much, Shari. As you said, we're not the usual jewelry line. I call myself an accidental designer. So Bold and Kind started a few years ago when I was right in the middle of my very, very shiny career at Google. And the way that life seems to go, where everything happens at the same time, kind of happened to me. And all of the bad things that could have happened at the same time sort of piled up. And so in that moment, I started getting panic attacks for the first time. And for me, before I would get a panic attack, I noticed that I would end up fisting my hands. And so I had these like nail marks at the bottom of my palm all the time. Yeah. So what I ended up doing to help me out of that is I noticed that I could feel it coming on before it actually happened. So what I started doing is wearing my jewelry kind of very intentionally. And I started with a very simple affirmation of, I'm allowed to take care of myself. And so I would say that in the morning, I would say it when I put my jewelry on. So if I found myself throughout the day feeling that sensation of about to get overwhelmed, like if I could feel my hands closing under the table, about to hit a stage, whatever, wherever, I would just use that feeling as a cue to pause, breathe, and notice what's happening inside me and give myself permission to not be so hard on myself. Because ultimately it was never the calendar or the workload that was the problem. It was really what I expected of myself. Like how much we expect of ourselves is kind of insane if you ever, stop to unpack it. And then after using it for 2 years in this way and like really getting a grasp on this little ritual I'd built for myself, I thought maybe somebody else could use it. And so that's how Bold and Kind started.
I love people who face their own adversity and their own challenges, and they not only show up for themselves and walk through it, but then they decide to take those challenges and help other people. And I have to say, I am wearing your whole self ring, and I get so many compliments on it. It's so powerful. I feel it. I love that this is people who use affirmations, right? Like you put them in your phone or you have them written down on paper, but this goes everywhere with you. And then of course, I'm wearing your newest. Can you talk to me about this beautiful piece?
Yeah, this actually just launched. So both of us are wearing what I'm calling the boundaries necklace. And it's just a reminder that if something isn't a hell yes, then it should be a hell no. And the big thing to remember with that is we give so much of ourselves away to everyone. We say yes to everybody that needs us, but we rarely pause and pull back and think, I don't really need this. I don't have time for this. Or I would rather take a nap instead of RSVPing yes to that party. And so as a small reminder, I want women to feel empowered enough to stand up for themselves.
And I've read on your site and not feel guilty about it, because so many of us have learned to speak up, but then there's that guilt that comes with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's actually another one coming up. I'm calling it the ambition necklace. And so on one side, it says dream without limits. And on the other side, it says rest without guilt. And that's kind of going back also to the name of the company, right? We know how to be bold. We know how to be ambitious. We know how to show up, but rarely do we know how to be kind to ourselves.
I love it. And the packaging that it comes in is so beautiful. And we even got, I'm not going to let you all have to get your own, but it comes with like this beautiful message inside that when I opened it up, I was like, oh, because I was already like, the ring itself was so beautiful. But then to receive that, I was like, amazing. If you had a message for women in their lives right now, what would it be?
Honestly, really simply, we are way too hard on ourselves. So here it is very directly. If you're watching this right now and you are showing up for every single person in your life and you want to be everything to everyone, take a minute and find out if you even make that list of priorities yourself. Because what I found is we put ourselves last, and I think it's time to change that.
Thank you for the work that you're doing in the world. And one last question, what brings you joy?
Oh my God, naps, coffee, my dog, my husband, too many things. Like life is so joyful. We just have to notice it.
Joining me right now is unconscious belief expert and author of One Belief Away, Tim Shurr. He's going to help us experience greater happiness, success, and inner peace. Welcome to the show, Tim.
Thank you, Shari. So happy to be here. Full of joy.
Full of joy.
Yay.
I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you.
You have written this amazing book, which we're going to get into today, One Belief Away. And I know we're going to talk about the methods and the strategies and all that. But before we do that, because I'm excited to talk about that, you've been endorsed by some of the biggest names, Les Brown, Bob Proctor, our friend, mutual friend, Dr. Joe Vitale. And you've done, from what I've read, over 16,000 client sessions.
Yes. I had a lot more hair when I started.
So did I.
Yeah, I've been a little obsessed with freeing people from needless emotional suffering. Yeah, so that they can have more joy and live a more fulfilling life.
Obsession is a good word, especially when you're doing such good work in the world and helping so many people. What do you think is the thing that actually stands in the way of people from living this happier, more successful life?
So all of us humans go through what I call big T and little t traumas. Little t traumas are when we get embarrassed, we don't get picked to be on the team, someone breaks our heart, right? Big T traumas are more of the physical abuse, other abuses and deaths, illnesses, the really scary stuff. And what happens is that our mind forms a belief without our permission and often without us even knowing it about what that experience means. And those beliefs, it turns out, are more impactful. That's what impacts you 30 years later. You have some traumatic experience when you're 5 years old and now you're 40 and you're, you can't stop eating sugar, or you're on opioids, or you're smoking 2 packs a day, or you're drinking too much, or you just feel like you have imposter syndrome. And so what I found is that if you can go and pull those mental weeds out, then that is what sets people free. Most traditional types of therapy, talk therapy, medication, is like throwing dirt on top of those weeds or cutting the top off. It never gets to the root of it. And so this One Belief Away method I developed, it pulls it out at the root, and then we plant flowers instead, empowering beliefs that make people feel loved and accepted, and that's what causes the inner peace.
Oh, I love that. First, I love this idea of the gardening and replanting. I read somewhere that it's our job to train our brain to prepare and not scare.
Yes.
And is that basically what we're doing when we're replanting this garden?
But yeah, that's exactly what happens. Our brain is designed to keep us safe and alive. And so it's more interested in avoiding pain than it is creating pleasure. And so that's why we're more pain avoidant than anything else. And so we're always activating this fight or flight response inside of us that causes us to feel scared, worried, stressed, angry, overwhelmed, burned out. And our brain is trying to help us to avoid pain by getting us out of those situations. So when you procrastinate, procrastination is just the avoidance of potential pain. And we put things off that we think is not going to feel good, and even if it's good for us. So unfortunately, our brain has a bad habit of trying to protect us from pain by engaging in activities that cause more of it. I know I shouldn't eat those donuts, and then I do. I know that those cigarettes are ruining my health, so I light up, right? I know I shouldn't be gambling, or I shouldn't fight with my spouse, and then all of a sudden it just happens. And it's like, I don't understand it, because I'm saying affirmations and I'm telling myself that it's going to be better, and then I go right back to this old way. And it's because that's your programming. If you want to know how your brain is programmed, look at your life. You know, you don't see the world as it is, you see the world as you are. And so what people don't realize is they have this amazing power walking around inside of them with it. And you can use it whenever you want to make your life better. You know, we have the ability to choose how we want to feel. It doesn't matter what shows up. What matters is how we show up. It's just people have not been taught how to use this power. We pray, we meditate, we do yoga, and we still feel stressed and full of anxiety. And so this is the way to set yourself free.
As you say that, I take the exhale, and I also think, you know, because it obviously is training, as you're saying, because so many people, like you said, will say the affirmations and then they still find themselves in that same habitual thing, and then they go, but I tried. And so is it just a consistent programming over and over and over again, or the work that you do is like a one-time thing?
So there's two parts of it. Okay, so the positive talk movement, you know, the have a positive attitude approach with the affirmations and everything is really, really helpful, right? Because you're redirecting your attention onto what you want. And because your mind works like a GPS. You type in where you want it to go and it starts to take you there one step at a time. Well, most people don't realize that. So what they do is they focus on what they don't want, right? I don't want to procrastinate. I don't want to eat that candy. And then that's exactly what they do, because they're typing that into the GPS. I don't want to be broke, right? And then all of a sudden they find themselves struggling again and in that same situation. And so we've got to train ourselves to be able to ask power questions. You know, power questions are, what do I want to have happen? How do I want things to go? What if this was easier, right?
Yeah.
How would I show up then? Who can I lean on for support? What resources do I have? Most people don't ask those questions. They ask themselves lousy questions like, why is life so unfair? What's wrong with me? How come things never work out the way I want them to? And then your brain is like, because you don't deserve it, because you're not good enough.
Because our brain tries to prove that prove the things that we're saying, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah, we love to be right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about that, Tim.
Yeah. And all of that is great, but that needs to come second, right? And that's where everybody puts their attention. And that's why so many people will go to therapy for 10 years and not really feel any better. Or why you try so hard to achieve a goal and it just doesn't work out. And then it reinforces those fearful beliefs like, I can't believe at this age, I haven't figured it out by now. I must really be, you know, and then fill in the blank. And so what I found is that you've got to change the foundation first. You know, if you pull enough weeds and plant enough flowers, it changes the soil of your mind, right? It makes it more conducive for flowers to grow. So that suddenly, instead of scaring yourself, you're preparing yourself, right? You will go through uncomfortable situations, but you'll be able to go through them more comfortably, right? You'll expand your comfort zone. And in fact, a secret that I found to be something that really makes people successful is to actually, if you want to create a breakthrough in your life, go to the places that you've been resisting going. Go there on purpose, because your biggest breakthroughs are hiding in the places you don't want to go. And when you actively, intentionally go there, that's where the breakthrough happens. And everybody always says afterwards, well, that wasn't as bad as I thought.
I always say, like, the monster's scarier in the closet, like in the dark. And then you open it and you're like, oh, there's nothing there.
There's no monster. It's just the fear itself. You know, fear, F-E-A-R, false evidence appearing real. You got to turn it into feeling excited and ready, finding excuses and reasons to win, and to create more joy.
To create more joy.
Yeah.
Tim, so okay. So I know that you have helped celebrities, you've helped lots of top name people. I mean, you're changing lives. How did you get into this? I mean, what drew you to want to do this work and to help people let go of this suffering?
Yeah, well, I didn't get into this to save the world. I got into this to try to save mine. You know, I had all kinds of anxiety and insecurities and never feeling good enough and always walking around with this knot in my stomach, and I had all kinds of bad experiences growing up as well. And so I wanted to find some peace. And so I went to school for psychology, and I found that I wasn't finding it. There was lots of theory and this idea that awareness is change if you just are aware of what you're doing. But, I know I shouldn't be eating that candy bar and drinking that Mountain Dew in the middle of the afternoon, and guess what I'm doing, right? Yeah. So awareness is not change. It's just the very first start, the first step. And so then I got into hypnosis, and by chance, that was never the plan.
How did that happen?
Yeah, well, I was sitting in second year of psychology, and I was taking a counseling processes class, and they had guest speakers coming in. One was a hypnotist. They asked for a volunteer. I'm like, I'll cluck like a chicken. I didn't know anything about it, right? And 5 minutes later, I'm in this state of peace. I knew what was going on. It wasn't anything that I thought. So anyway, 5 minutes into it, I have this sense of peace I never felt before. That knot in my stomach went away, and it stayed that way for about a week. And I'm like, this is incredible. I never felt this way before, right? And then, of course, I went right back to the anxiety because I was good at doing anxiety. Right. Even though I didn't know I was doing it, I thought it was happening to me. Mm-hmm. And so, because you just don't know what you don't know. And so then I decided, well, I'm going to go get some certification in this. And then I got certified, and then it opened the doors for all the other letters, NLP, EFT, EMDR, all the cognitive behavioral theory. I mean, all the letters. You got a degree
in the alphabet.
Yeah, I went full force into when I started working with people. In the beginning, I was trained as just a regular hypnotherapist, where you get people relaxed, you give them positive affirmations, and then you hope it works. Mm-hmm. You hope you got them deep enough and it works, right? I didn't understand until I did thousands of sessions over many years what's really going on. And it's you got to find those mental weeds, pull out those limiting beliefs. And a simple trick at home is you just ask yourself, if you're feeling scared or stressed or overwhelmed right now, you ask yourself, what would I have to believe in order to feel this way? Or what would I have to believe in order to think what I'm thinking right now? And you keep asking yourself that same question till you get the core. I was talking to someone yesterday, very successful, and he was afraid that he was going to lose his business. And that wasn't what scared him. He was afraid he was going to lose his business and his family was going to leave him. And then he was going to be nothing. As successful as he was, as wealthy as he was, he still had this fear of not being good enough. Right? And so which is what made him successful, because you take that anxiety and you turn it into drive. And a lot of really high performing people are just I call it achiever syndrome. Mm-hmm. We're just running on anxiety. We're going to conquer the world. And then the next day, I don't want to get out of bed. Right? Yeah. And so when we upgrade those beliefs, that's what changes everything. And so I just decided that I'm going to study every kind of alternative approach out there and find out what works and what doesn't.
Is it going to make these feelings of anxiety, does it make it go away, or it helps you manage it more?
Both.
Okay.
Both.
Okay.
It significantly improves how you feel almost instantly, because when you go from I'm not enough to I'm more than enough, I'm not loved to I love me, it's a game changer. You filter your whole world, how you think, how you feel, what actions you take. It changes your filter, right? And that immediately improves how you feel. And that allows people to begin making new decisions that create new opportunities, that create new resources, new references that they can go back and compare to. And then all of a sudden it changes how they're talking to themselves, so they don't have to fake it till they make it, right? Yeah. I'm a winner, I believe in me, I'm amazing. And then the voice says, no, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're fooling you. You're lying to yourself.
I always call it like the good angel and the bad. And the devil. That's
right. two dogs fighting, right? And which one's going to win? The one you feed.
Yes.
And so you got to feed the one that is telling you that, I love you, you're more than enough, you're amazing, you can do anything you put your mind to. And most people just don't do that. So that's why I'm here on your show, to let people know that you can use the power of your mind to create your life by design. You already are worthy, you're already enough.
And I think we all need to hear that and know that. Let's talk for a minute about One Belief Away, how to upgrade your unconscious mind for prosperity and inner peace. Yes. You touched on the One Belief Away. So is that really about just dwindling down? I don't know if that's the right word, but that one belief until you get to that core?
Yeah, and with this approach, you go right to it. Because I believe if you push the first domino over, it knocks all the other ones over. Yeah. So if you can go to that initial sensitizing event, the time when it started it all. And so most of my clients, even if they don't believe that this is going to work, next thing they know, they're thinking about a time when they were 4 years old. Right? It really goes back. They say that most of our life scripts, our rules for how we view ourselves in the world, has been formed by the time we're 8 years old.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
And so most of us are walking around letting an inner 8-year-old make decisions for us. And if you look at people's lives, yep.
That's very funny. I've made a concerted effort to talk for the 7-year-old in me who had experienced big T trauma,
Yes.
to really sit with her and
Yes.
love her and talk to her. And it's made such a big difference. And I've heard you talk on that about taking care of our inner child.
Yeah, it's so important. And when you do that, it just kind of changes the game. And then people will often say, and you kind of asked a little bit earlier, well, how long do you have to do this? Or is it an instant change and then you're fixed, right? And there's no fixing because you're not broken, right? But you have this in our language, this victim language now of being broken and all this stuff. And so we're not broken, we're whole. We just have some programming in there, some mental weeds that we've got to get out, some mind viruses.
We're going to help some people get rid of some of these mind viruses, or at least find out if they are susceptible. I don't know if susceptible, but hypnosable. We're going to do something fun right after the commercial break, but we're going to first take a word from our sponsor. Okay, so I'm very excited about this, Tim, because you said that there's a way to test whether we are susceptible to hypnosis.
Yes.
I got hypnotized in college. I ate a raw onion as an apple. So I already know, well, that was years ago, but let's talk about this.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So everybody can be hypnotized except somebody that doesn't want to be because they're going to be resistant. However, the greatest hypnotist on the planet is your smartphone. Right? Before that, it was your television set. So hypnosis is the power of suggestion. That's really all it is. And everybody is suggestible to some degree. But we can do a fun little suggestibility test just as a kind of a personality assessment. It doesn't even matter if someone can go into hypnosis or not, because I've kind of taken that to the next level. It's like a step above hypnosis. We're like the special forces of transformation. And so we skip right on, stare at the light and let your arm drift. We don't need to do any of that. It's not necessary.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and do this, and everybody at home can do this too. So I want you to go ahead and fold your hands together like you're praying. You're going to take your first 2 fingers, your index fingers, pull them apart just a little bit, and then you're going to stare right at your fingertips. And imagine those fingers are like little magnets going closer and closer together. And the closer they go, the more they want to touch. And you just imagine those fingers touching, touching, closer, closer, touching, touching, until they come all the way together. Wonderful. Very good. Now take a slow breath in through your nose and say quietly in your mind, I am amazing. Very good. And now you can go ahead and relax those fingers and feel wonderful. All right, terrific. So
I am amazing.
I know.
I am amazing.
So this is so let's look at this as a assessment now.
Okay.
All right. So it just gives us more information about ourselves. So some people, their fingers didn't move at all. And they're like, you're not making me do anything. Okay. Right. Other people are going, no, right, and fine. So you're the ones with all the control issues. Okay.
I've got some of those. Yeah, I trust you.
We all do. And then some just go, what the heck just happened there, right? And so, anybody can use this approach, because again, it's not about getting into some special trance that some people can do and others can't. It's not about being asleep or unconscious or somebody getting in your head. Oh, I don't want to let the devil get in, right? Honey, the devil's already in. Our goal is to get the devil out.
Unless you're having fun with the devil.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So we're going to go ahead and however you responded, we're going to say, you know what? This just helps me understand where I'm at. I'm really open to this, and so I'm going to achieve my goals faster. If I have these issues where, you're not going to control me, well, that's just because of the beliefs and experiences that you've had that make you feel like the world's not safe. And then the controlling stuff is, am I going to be okay? Is this going to work for me? And then that analysis by paralysis, where we're constantly always asking everybody else what they think, and then you're not trusting yourself, which is a big problem, which shows that lack of self-love. Right? Or that sometimes people don't even know that they have permission to make their own decisions for themselves. Or they grew up in I have so many clients that would their parents would make them clean the living room, and then they would come in and say, this is filthy. And then you get this idea that no matter what I do, it's never good enough.
Yeah.
And then you just take that with you through your life, chasing that approval. And whatever you chase runs. So we don't chase, we attract, we draw, and we create that joy from within. And when you're feeling joy from within, you suddenly begin to live in a joyful world.
What secretly brings you joy?
Oh, well, my family brings me joy. So number one, yeah, my wife Stacy, my sons Aiden and Maximus, they are incredible and the best part of my life. And so I look to them for inspiration, and then I take that inspiration and I share it with the world.
Tim, thank you so much for being here today and just the amazing work you're doing to help so many of us.
And thank you as well. Your show is incredible, and I appreciate you being a bright light in this world. So thank you.
Thank you. And now it's time to go meet some special peeps on the street on this week's Where are you both from?
New York City.
Did you guys come to Central Park often?
Yeah, we do. She really likes the cherry blossom, so came to check that out.
I was just going to say, are you guys a couple?
Yes, we are. 3 years.
What's your favorite thing about him?
I would say his determination.
And what about her?
I would say her compassion and her kindness. It really is like pure, and it comes from her heart, you know?
What's something that really brings you some joy in your life that you love, that lights you up?
I really like helping people and working with kids. That's something I hope to do in the future. So I guess that's what really brings me joy.
For me, it's like more like my family. I really enjoy spending time with my family and like kind of taking care of them. And seeing like them prosper and them be happy makes me happy too.
So if you guys had a message for the world, what is something that you would want to share with them? I know that's a big question.
Take it easy on yourself. I feel like, we're always hard on ourselves. So I guess just like, letting things come to play and then taking your time with things.
Also just like kind of understanding where other people come from. You yourself in other people's shoes, just to understand that. It's everyone's first time living, so.
Wisdom by these two here.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us. I can't wait to see you next week on Good Morning Joy, where every day starts with a smile. Stay tuned for today's Soul Hugs. Welcome to Kanha Shanti Vanum, the global headquarters of Heartfulness. I am so excited to take you on an in-venture, a journey to the center. Come along as we explore all parts of Heartfulness in hopes to be able to connect you back home. Welcome to Soul Hugs. I am so excited to take you into one of the things that I've been looking so forward to in Kanha. As most of you know, I am a tree lover, a nature lover, and this brilliant man, Dr. Ramakantha, has created this rainforest on what was once barren land.
Basically, Daaji in 2018 called me and said, we should have a rainforest here. It was barren, agricultural fallow, not even a blade of grass, absolutely dry, arid. I had this knowledge that not one will survive. So I said, what is the loss? Few thousands plants die, it's their fate. I got truckloads of plants, rainforest species, and it survived. Not one species went away. Just hold it on the palm. Okay, squish it. Now, do this.
Did I just get lipstick?
Yes, you did. I'm pretty honest.
Is it my color?
I didn't know why Daaji wanted rainforest. Now I know every third plant, every second plant is endangered.
Whenever you have issues, health problem, just rest your back on its trunk and always sit prayerfully. You just stand in front of it and offer a prayer that, would you please help me? So when you sit with such respect with a tree, you'll see that there's some exchange, energy exchange. In 5 minutes, you'll see a big change. And if you do this daily, you'll feel that something is shifting daily on a daily basis.
Seeing what you've created here as such an example for what everyone can do, even on a smaller level.
Yeah, it can be done.